Channel is brought to you by this cable or satellite provider. You can also get reliable forecasts from the Weather Channel through this radio station or visit weather.com.
Real-time reports from those in Irene's past at weather.com/social.
Our coverage of Hurricane Irene continues here on the Weather Channel. Right now, Irene is posing an extreme threat for the mid-Atlantic coast and the northeastern seaboard.
Straight ahead, a look at what's happening now and what's happening next. You're tuned in to Hurricane Central.
Hurricane Irene, a huge storm impacting millions of people along the coast. Welcome back to our live 24-hour coverage of Hurricane Irene. I'm Kelly Cass.
And I'm Paul Goodlow. Right now, Hurricane Irene remains a Category 1 hurricane, but it is living up to its full potential. We're talking some areas have already picked up hurricane force winds for over 12 hours today. And right now, we're seeing numerous tornadoes have been reported, also doing damage to homes, even bringing down trees and power lines. So far, at least 9 deaths have been reported associated with this hurricane, and at least 2 million people or 2 million outages reported from power, and that's just in one state alone. And we are nowhere near done in terms of the wrath of this hurricane.
And Paul, so far, North Carolina and Virginia really taking it on the chin. Take a look at this new video out of Sandbridge, Virginia, just from a little while ago. You can see we have damage here. We've got buildings with roofs that are either partially torn off, fences that are blown over. We've had a report of a pier breaking down along the coast of North Carolina as well. So again, this is a dangerous hurricane. We want everybody to heed the warnings and stay indoors as those winds are still quite gusty out there. More eyewitness video now coming out of Richmond, Virginia. We've also had some strong winds. Look at that tree coming down. That was a pretty big tree there. So unfortunately, we are going to have more of that all along the northeast coast. Of course, with saturated ground in places like Philly and New York, we could be seeing a lot of that, unfortunately, and people killed by falling trees. That happens all too often. Well, Governor Bob McDonnell said tonight roughly 2 million Virginians are without electricity, and parts of southeastern Virginia face the serious possibility of flooding. Right now, we have a new advisory in from the National Hurricane Center. We want to go to Brian Norcross at the expert desk. Hi, Brian.
All right. Hi, Kelly. Here with Carl Parker, and we just got the advisory in. Take a look at it right here. It's still at 80 miles an hour, and the pressure up a little bit, 954, as we expected it would be, moving north-northeast. It's moving right along the coastline there, just really as forecast.
And for people that are wondering how it is that an 80-mile-an-hour storm could cause so much damage over such a large area, well, you look at that central pressure, you might associate that with a much stronger storm in a lot of cases.
Well, certainly, normally, it would be a Category 2 hurricane for sure. One more point out of the advisory, and that is that they find out here when they fly around in the airplane, they find very strong winds above the surface, and that raises the concern for the high rises in New York and Philadelphia and other places along the coast. So just bear that in mind, that those high winds have been measured once you get up above the ground. So that's part of this storm.
Yeah, I mean, that's what's interesting about the lack of precipitation on the right side there. Without those showers and storms, there's nothing to transfer that mid-level wind down to the surface, so you won't get as much wind at the surface. But as you mentioned, if you're up 80 floors, then maybe you do get quite a bit.
There's the center right there, but look at the radar moving north. The heavy band continues, although thankfully it seems to be less intense than it was there, Baltimore, Washington, but very intense here moving through New Jersey.
Yeah, we actually just heard about a rainfall rate in Philly of 1.5 to 2 inches per hour. Now, that was per hour.
Yes.
That was the amount of rain that we would need there to cause flash flooding over a 6-hour time frame. That's what we're getting in 1 hour's time right now. So the flooding is probably going to be, I would say, catastrophic in some parts of this region.
And unfortunately, in New Jersey, they're very well aware of Hurricane Floyd. We're not saying it's going to be another Hurricane Floyd, but it could be very, very bad in that direction, unfortunately. Kelly?
Unfortunately so. Thank you so much, guys. And of course, the Weather Channel, we are Hurricane Central. We have got you covered here. We have multiple crews from North Carolina all the way to New England to bring you live pictures and the latest information on Irene's impacts. In fact, right now, we want to take you live to Virginia Beach, where Eric Fisher is standing by. And Eric, we were looking at some video taken earlier. When would you say the worst of the storm was affecting your area?
Good evening, Kelly. Fortunately, we're taking a look at some improving conditions here slowly. It's going to be a long haul tonight. I mean, you look at the Outer Banks of North Carolina, you look where the center of Irene is, and the Outer Banks are still gusting over 50 miles per hour. So once the storm continues to work its way up the coastline, we could see additional power outages. Already 2 million people without power. And emergency management officials are saying that those people without power could wait up to 1 to 2 weeks before they get it back. So when we're out here days in advance, we're talking about a good idea is to get some cash, get food, water, supplies for several days because you don't know how long power is going to be out. There's your reason. A validation of the forecast here in the Virginia area. And we'll see those winds slowly wind down as we head into the day tomorrow. That video you showed, Kelly, a little while ago over by Sandbridge Beach, some of that damage, reported tornado taking the roofs off those homes there along Sandbridge. They also had overwash in that area, which means the ocean came right through those oceanfront houses. Beautiful homes. My family vacations there at Sandbridge. That water comes through the houses and then out into the road that's on the other side of them. So we've seen some significant impacts in Norfolk. The city was filling with rain. We were talking about from surge, I should say. We had people who were swimming through the streets in Norfolk. Now that the tide is starting to go out slowly, we'll see some improvement, but it'll be a very slow process there. And Kelly, we've also seen 3 fatalities in the state of Virginia. Unfortunately, that number perhaps will climb before we're all said and done. Either way you slice it, Irene, the first landfalling hurricane in 3 years, making a name for itself. Back to you.
Wow, swimming through the streets of Norfolk, Virginia, that is something, all right. And, you know, Eric, I know you're still under the threat for more strong winds and also some very heavy rainfall. Are you concerned? Are you seeing a lot of high water on the streets out there?
Yeah, you know, we watched some big rain totals in the Norfolk area. We talked about over 8 inches coming down. I haven't seen the exact update date total just yet, but especially west of town, either side of the I-95 corridor. I mean, it was just pouring all day long. We still have a little ways to go yet.
You sure do, Eric. All right, we appreciate your coverage there from Virginia Beach on the southeastern corner of the Dominion State. Our live coverage continues next of Hurricane Irene. We are around the clock here at Hurricane Central. We've got the latest video as well as live shots up and down the coast. Plus, your forecast, a very important forecast as this is going to be impacting millions of people. We are constantly fine-tuning and tweaking that forecast. Of course, you can always get more information at weather.com as well. We've got extended coverage there right there on the front page of weather.com.
And services still? Nope. Each year losing.
History. Rarely before has a hurricane barreled forward with so many major American cities in her path. Irene is roaring up the East Coast tonight. The hurricane's eye is moving into Virginia. You're looking live at Nags Head, North Carolina, pummeling that region all day. And now the view from another perspective. You can see from space that is the angry swirling high above Earth tonight. And this evening, Irene is a Category 1 hurricane. Winds of 80 miles an hour, gusts well above 100. But meteorologists do warn, even though she is a Category 1, Irene is very large, very slow, swirling over some cities for 12 to 18 hours straight. 10 inches of rain already have fallen on North Carolina, many areas bracing for storm surges of 10 feet. And at this hour, at least 4 people have died. More than 750,000 have lost power. 2.3 million have been ordered to evacuate. Sam Champion with the track right now. He's standing by in a moment, and so is our team of correspondents and ABC stations in the path of this storm. But we begin here with ABC's Matt Gutman in North Carolina tonight. Matt, good evening.
David, we saw today how treacherous this storm can be. We went right into the inner eye wall with a group of storm chasers, and there we felt rain coming down. It felt like needles stinging us right in the face, and the wind made it impossible to walk. That's how powerful it was. And we came back here and we realized that in this type of weather and hurricane, there is literally no safe place. That railing was just ripped off into the ocean behind you. And by the way, the Atlantic there, that was a beach yesterday. The actual ocean was about 200 yards farther down.
Hurricane Irene exploded into North Carolina today as a Category 1 hurricane, blasting wind and rain. It weakened from its peak strength, but it remains a massive storm, 700 miles wide, and tonight is already being blamed for at least 4 deaths in North Carolina and Virginia.
Never seen the waves that big out there.
There, an 11-year-old boy was killed after a tree collapsed on an apartment complex.
So the eye wall's right there. Yeah, literally right there.
Today, ABC News got an exclusive look at the monster storm from the inside, riding along with storm chaser Reed Timmer.
Yeah, but that was an intense band that was just on the outside, and then the eye is still to come.
We jumped back in to follow the storm, which mercilessly pummeled the mid-Atlantic, thrashing Norfolk and slamming through this Cape Hatteras gas station. So powerful that it knocked this church steeple on its side and ripped roofing tiles and shingles from buildings. And those fierce winds piling up tremendous amounts of water. Look at the waves in Palomino Sound, normally flat, now swallowing a house and this boat, and forcing a dramatic rescue on the Chesapeake. Rescuers had to use a rope to pull out 2 survivors.
And David, we're just coming out of the front end of the storm, haven't even yet been hit by its tail end, which when it comes could bring even more rain, up to 12, maybe 15 inches. And that is going to increase the massive amount of flooding that we've already seen here. Storm surges of 15 feet and even higher. And when the 300,000 people who left here, either for vacationers or residents, come back here, they're going to have a lot of work to do to pick up the pieces.